What's up?
Hello.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, we're not live. We're not live.
Huh? What?
We're not live.
It says stream is going.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, you good?
False start. Flag on the play. No, I see the live counter now.
You good? It's all right.
Welcome to Sunday Sesh.
Yeah, welcome to the Sunday Sesh.
We're still kind of figuring it out. We're learning in public right now, but we are very excited to bring you guys the first episode of an all new show.
Yeah.
Tonight. This afternoon show is brought to you guys by Real Growers, good folks over there. Use coupon code Cortez at checkout to save 10%. Any orders over $50, enjoy free shipping. But I won't hold you guys up with that too much. We got a really great guest today, grower by the name of Chubbs from Fast Bud's Notoriety.
Yeah. So let's get him in here.
There he is.
What's
man.
What up, everybody? Happy Sunday.
Happy
What's going on,
Sunday.
Brother Chubbs?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just living life, enjoying it, living the dream.
Sometimes that's all you can do, man. One day at a time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thanks for bearing with us.
No problem. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always a pleasure,
Yeah, our first episode live with the Sunday Sesh. I'm honored to have you as our first, man, for real.
Couldn't think of a better
Pleasure, man.
guest.
It's a pleasure.
Really couldn't think of a better first guest.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So how you doing today? What are you doing today? Like what do you got going on your Sunday afternoon?
I was in the greenhouse a little bit earlier. I got some I ran the fast flowering strains from 420 Fast Buds this summer on the outdoor.
I ran some of those testers.
Yeah, and there's a couple, that are getting real close to being done. So I just got myself a freeze dryer, so I'm super excited about trying some live rosin here,
Okay.
So
yeah.
it'll be
That's
interesting,
greenhouse. That greenhouse is ginormous, and they're like monsters in there. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah, I got the greenhouse last year. I love doing outdoor. I grow indoor mostly. 90% of it's indoor, but I do enjoy the challenge of outdoor just because, you never know what Mother Nature throws at you, and it's always fun. I find it to be a little harder for me personally. So last year I did the greenhouse just to kind of keep the moisture and everything off of them and hopefully keep the pest away. And I didn't want to invest too much, so it's just a cheap one off of Amazon, but it did the trick, so
Yeah.
I told myself, all right, if I can get one more season out of it, I'd be stoked, because it's super simple. I have it all on a drip line. So, it's very minimal for what I do. But I actually had to get in there yesterday and tie up the main colas to the top of it because some of these things were starting to get to like a 45-degree angle. And I'm like, oh, man.
Heavy.
Did you back up any of those genetics from the fast flowering chips?
No, I've never grown any of them, because I only do photo periods once a year, and that's during the outdoor season. So I was real excited to get them running, and just see how I seen pictures. I seen everybody growing them, and the hype was there. So I'm like, oh, man, I feel like I'm missing out. But definitely well worth the wait. It was almost like a Christmas present waiting to open it, and you start seeing them into flower right now. And you're like, oh, couldn't have asked for better.
But that's actually one of the things that's really cool, though, about like the new fast flowering lines. And I'm actually growing out some of the photo femmes that Heather sent me over. But, that's kind of one of the frustrations that we have as autoflower growers. It's like you got to weed through certain things. Some don't germinate. Some are lackluster. Some might have some type of like pH lockout or some type of issue you run into. But then you find that unicorn out of the pack, and she's like the one that got away. You know what I mean? So, and you think about it like years later, like I can remember autoflowers I grew like 2, 3, 4 years ago. I'm like, man, if I could have just cloned that and kept the mother around, if I only could find that pheno again. But that's actually one of the things that's a really cool opportunity from some of these new fast bud lines that are either the fast flowering, so they're half photoperiod, half autoflower ruderalis, or the all new line. They got 5 strains available so far as like the photo femmes.
Yeah, you know, and they say them fast flowerings, they're basically going to finish within 8 weeks, supposedly. And it's going to be close because, like I say, they're stacking fast, and I really couldn't be happier, you know.
I grew out 5 of the fast flowering strains while they were still in the testing phase. So I grew them as the number testers.
It's always fun when you regrow them.
2 years ago now. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just started my indoor run, you know, I'm on week 1, basically almost a day before week 1's over, you know, and the last time I ran, it's the 6 new auto flowering strains from Fast Buds, you know, and the last time I ran them, you know, they were testers, and I tell everybody it's very enjoyable for me because it's one thing if you already know the strain, but I kind of like a mystery, you know, so it's almost like you act like Sherlock Holmes throughout the whole grow, trying to figure out what it is, you know, knowing what you know and trying to figure out, all right, I know it's an indica dominant by the leaf structure, the way it's growing, you know, and it's all, I don't know, it's fun for me. It's definitely a pleasure. And then you find out what it was and how far off you were. You're like, man, that's why I don't ask. Here, somebody else smell this. Tell me what it smells like.
Oh, yeah.
Try to get Heather to give up like hints. That's something I do sometimes. Heather, like, just tell me, is cookies in one of the parent strains? When she's so good stuff, like Heather can definitely hold up under interrogation. Like she's always got like the perfect where she gives up 0 information.
100%, you know, and big shout out to everything that she does. So,
hey,
the biggest shout out to Heather.
Yeah, look,
Miss Heather Sayer. Thank you.
Yeah, I just got connected with Fast Buds too with Heather and became a tester myself. I got my DVD case. She just sent me some swag too, the poster, grinder, rolling tray. So, because I was big on Grow Diaries and been running Fast Bud strains for a while now, and I already love them. So why not? You know? So you send me some free gear. I would love to take pictures of these beautiful plants for you guys that I'm doing already, you know?
That's what I tell the same people that are growing, you know, and they ask, hey, how do you become a tester? You know, this and that. And I'm like, you know what? First thing you do is go on to Grow Diaries and be dedicated. You know, anybody can ask, but they want to see that dedication. Let's see a grow or two, you know, and see how accurate you are, because I think that's one of the things they may I don't know if they like it most about me is I'm brutally honest when it comes to things. You know, I don't got to lie to kick it. I'll tell you straight up if I think it's crap or if I think it's God's gift to earth, you know?
Oh, yeah. I like that.
And then kind of when you go this step further, I know you're on there too, but like when you grow something out and then your work gets featured on the official website for the strain. I know I've seen you on there. I'm on 2 or 3 of the strains, but I know the main one that I got is the Gorilla Cookies because I've grown it out probably like 4 or 5 times now, but I think on the official website, I'm on there like 6 times on the actual strain page, but who's counting?
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've been pretty faithful and loyal. You know, a lot of people ask me why I pretty much grow exclusively Fast Buds. I've been growing their strains. I've grown every strain they've ever released and not released, you know, for about 10 years now. So definitely enjoy them. You know, I mean, my journey, I grow medically for my son. He has epilepsy and autism. So that's the whole reason. I've smoked my whole life, you know, and never thought I'd start growing anything, you know, because I never been a gardener. I grew up in LA in the city. So it was like, you're going to garden like where on the concrete, you know, type stuff. So
when did you start growing? Like when and why did you start growing in the first place?
I started growing about 10 years ago now. It's been 10 years. And I started growing when my son is epileptic and has autism, and his seizure medication was no longer controlling his seizures. And it was basically becoming a toxic level because he had to take so much. And what doctors don't tell you, and I'm not against pharmaceuticals, I'll start off there, is, you know, different strokes for different folks. But what they don't tell you, you know, about some of these medications is they attack your liver and your kidneys, you know, and yeah, it's fine. You may not have a seizure, but by the time you're 25, it's looked like you drank for 20 years, because it's attacked your inside. So my wife and I made that tough decision. Hey, you know what? Cannabis is doing amazing things. Again, I've smoked my whole life, so I'm a big advocate of it, and it was one of the scariest decisions I've ever made in my life. But thank God, going fast forward 10 years now, he's been seizure free for almost 9 years now. So you know what I mean? I couldn't ask for better. And that's another reason why.
Is like the route of application. Do you do like RSO or how?
No, we do an oil. We break it down like I grow it just because that was one of the decisions when we made that. It was like everybody knows growing isn't just something as far as, hey, let me throw a seed into a pot. Yes, it can be that easy, but if you're trying to achieve the goals that everyone here is trying, I'm guessing, you're always going to sit there and put in that time. So I told her, it's a lot of work. I can do the growing and I'll do as much research, everything I can do as far as try to be the best grower I can be. But making the meds is a whole different ball game. And I just felt it was going to be too much. So that I'm telling you, like they say, behind any strong man's an even stronger woman, so she's the brains of the operation. I feel she has the harder job, but no, she breaks it down. She puts it into like a mason jar, decarbs it, and makes it into an oil, and then we use the grunge that's left out of the oil, or out of the raw flour, I should say, and put those into capsules. So, take his meds, orally once or twice a day. Takes pills twice a day, depending on.
Yeah. So he thinks he's just taking his prescription. It's just nothing.
Oh no, we're open. We're open cannabis family. It's medicine in our house. Like I smoke. I have a separate living room, so it's kind of like my smoking room. I smoke in there. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh shoot, the kids are here, put it away. No, I feel like if you do that, you almost making the stigma a reality. Whereas I'm trying to break that stigma, and there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. Don't ever let anybody tell you what.
Why I asked you, Chubbs, about like how you administer it. That's actually kind of something that me and you have in common. This actually isn't really something that I've like shared before, but my wife, she actually had a stroke about 2 years ago. So speaking to your point on using cannabis as medicine for the people that we love, and I guess like long-term lingering effects of like prescriptions, like in her case, actually, they prescribed her something called gabapentin. If you've ever heard of that, it's a nerve medication. So after the stroke, she was actually fully paralyzed on her left side. She's made a pretty good recovery now, you know what I mean? But one of the main things with her recovery, because, this was like maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So it's something that's still kind of recent. It's like when her limbs, when the left side of her body has come back to her, it's kind of like those growing pains that we had as a kid. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the nerves reattaching and everything. But if you do the research on something like gabapentin, it's not an opioid. It's something that basically like fucks with your nervous system, if that makes sense.
The receptor.
I've heard of it. I just don't know the details about it.
It's something, well, we'll say this. So it's something that's very addictive, and it's actually one of the few substances you can actually die from withdrawal from. So even though it's not an opioid, it's as addictive as something like Xanax.
Yeah.
Because there's few things that you can actually die from withdrawal from, like benzos being one of them, gabapentin being another. You can actually die from alcohol withdrawal.
Yeah.
So, it's some pretty serious stuff. My wife, she's not a smoker, you know what I mean? So then that's kind of where we got to get like a little creative as far as some type of gummy, some type of tincture. She's a pretty big fan of, she's a pretty big fan of the capsules, like you said, but sometimes I'll just put coconut oil in those and just dose them like that.
Yeah, that's what I know. My wife uses the coconut oil as a carrier, and it basically works amazing because it just absorbs it. And, like you said, you put it in those gelatin capsules. And the nice thing is they're time capped, so you can take it in 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the time caps, that you buy. Basically, it kicks in another half hour from there. You're as good as right as rain, So
I'm actually putting something together right now that's kind of like a little side project, but it's something that's like kind of a little closer to my heart, I guess. Well, yeah, these guys are helping too, but we're putting together like a cannabis pain management kind of thing, but then I want to touch on the opioid crisis too, and then kind of people that come to the grow community to make like an exit from heroin and fentanyl, some of the opioids. We might get you on there. That would be like a kind of interesting aspect if you'd be willing to share like some of the stuff you do with your son.
anytime, brother,
where
anytime. That was one
we
of the
can
reasons why when I
offer the
started growing,
plant rather than
That's
big
awesome.
pharma and all of the side effects that come with big pharma.
100%, brother. That was, like I said, one of the reasons, when I started growing, it was very frowned upon because, my son was still in public school. And as we know, it's still federally illegal. So I'd have to sign my son out for years. I'd go to school and I'd sign him out, go around the block, administer his meds and sign him right back in during lunchtime, just in time he'd go get his lunch and go on about his day. And,
That's awesome.
you get those looks from the parents and I get it, people, what they don't understand are quick to judge. 100%. Me included, I'm the same way. So, I can't sit there and expect something different. I wish it wasn't that way, but it's the way it is, but.
Well, if you see the results, they probably pretty much speak for themselves though, right? Like if you
that's
don't
why I
mind me
kind of just
asking,
laughed, I just kind of chuck it off,
seizures? Like
depending on who it is, I might sit there and explain it a little deeper and be like, you know what, let me break it down to you what and why the reasons why I'm doing it. And if you can get one person to sit there and change their mind, that's all it takes. You did your job. And at the end of the day, my son's happy and healthy. And that's the whole reason why I started doing this. And that's the same thing I tell everybody, all the cups, all the everything, smoking bud, all that stuff. That's all icing on the cake for me. You know what I mean? But him happy and healthy, that's the whole reason right there,
Okay.
Did his seizures get pretty bad before you started with the treatment of them?
He doesn't. Seeing a lot of people, when they think of seizures, a lot of people think of grandma seizures, where someone's laying on the floor, flopping like a fish, and stuff like that, where that's not the type. When it gets to that point, or if somebody does have those type of seizures, those are very strenuous and it takes a lot out of the body. Whereas luckily enough, my son, I shouldn't say luckily, but the type of seizures he has are what they call absent seizures. So it's almost looks like someone's daydreaming where they're just staring off into space, So if you don't know exactly what to look for or how to look for it, you would never even know that the person's having a seizure, because it's not the laying on the floor, you like if somebody was diabetic and you needed to give them insulin type of stuff, where it just full body shutdown. This is more or less a blank stare, and you could call his name and he may not even understand or hear you, until just depends on when he snaps out of it, and
it's all pale.
So that's what was scary for me is it's almost like you got to look for him under a microscope.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
Man, I'm sorry you've had to go through this, and I'm glad that you have like a awesome reason why you started growing cannabis. Like you liberated your son basically from going through these struggles every day, of you don't know how he's feeling, but it ain't a good feeling. But you create something with your hands that makes him some sort of relief, and that's
honestly
that
say,
should
like
be
I said,
the best feeling in the world, man.
God put this plant. I am a religious guy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say deeply, but I do believe in the man upstairs, and I say, he did put this plant on this earth for a reason because. Amen. And that's where it goes back to the pharmaceutical, different strokes for different folks. But you know what? I feel, the tools and the skills that we're blessed with are there for a reason. And I ain't never used or grown anything in my whole life before that, and look at me now. You fast forward 10 years, and I enjoy it. I didn't believe I had a passion for it, but now it's developed into a passion I never even knew I had.
Well, you got to understand, though, at the same time, like how far cannabis really goes back. Like this is a plant that's evolved for millions of years, like literally millions of years. Like I think I've actually heard that cannabis predates humans. And then when you look at us as human beings, we actually have, what is it, the ecto or endocannabinoid?
Yeah, the endocannabinoid system already there, you know?
For us to even be able to process the plant to feel any type of effect for it.
Yeah.
So it's like, was this really something that was put here by accident?
Yeah, and exactly. And that's why I say, you know what I mean? I'm not against, you know, I take an aspirin or an ibuprofen when I got a headache or something. I'm not against it, you know what I mean? But and that's what I tell people, you know what? My story is my story. I hope that, you know, you get parts of it that may be able to adapt or, you know, bring and involve into yours, you know, so that way it helps. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to risk those trials and tribulations because it's anytime, you know, if for any parent, if you are one, you know, you just want what's best for your kid. And, you know, when you start realizing that the actual medicine you're giving them is doing more harm than good, then it's like, okay, hey, you know what? Something has to give. And if it takes me hours and hours and hours of learning how to be the best grower I can, that's my pleasure. I'll do it in a heartbeat without even thinking.
Well, it's kind of like tools, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if you got a toolbox, do you only want a hammer in there? I mean, 100%. If everything kind of looks like a nail to you, that's one thing. But at the same time, and like saying that, like with my wife, there are times where like her nerve pain will get to the point to where she does have to take a gabapentin just as a relief because it's just totally like unbearable. But at the same time, that's another tool in our toolbox. We'll use the cannabis to try to avoid that. So to where she was taking like 3, 4, 5 of these pills a day before, she might take one once a week, maybe one once every other week. But that's kind of like the break glass in case of emergency type of scenario, rather than just the go-to of let me take this that's as addictive as fucking Xanax. Yeah.
And that's what I find crazy about the plant. You know what I mean? You got two different, I would say, illnesses or diagnoses. However, you know, I'm not a medical expert, so I don't know how you want to call it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just crazy how the plant heals in so many ways, you know? And I can't understand why it isn't legal worldwide already. And that's why if I can sit there and break that stigma one person at a time, like you guys said, you know, when you get that frowned look like, well, you give your kid cannabis. No, I actually give my kid cannabis oil.
Reach one, teach one.
Yeah. There's plenty of stories that
education
happen.
is the best. The education is going to carry on.
100%. You know, it's like the old saying goes, you know.
You're the best position to do it.
Yeah. You know, and that's why, you know, to me, thinking about it, going, you know, backwards and stuff like that, I'd do it all over in a heartbeat. And it's been a fun journey because, again, you know, I've showed a lot of people how to grow. I've given a few great pointers. I've gotten a lot of great pointers. You know, this community that we have and just the amazing companies that surround, you know, the community that we have, or I'm telling you, it could be life-changing.
Me and you have bullshitted online for a while, Chubbs. That's why I was really glad to get you on, brother.
Pleasure, brother. Like I said, much respect, man. My buddy from Chi-Town.
Have you made any of those pizzas yet, Chubbs?
I have, brother. Actually, I have, you know. And you can call me official. I've actually burned my first pizza now. So it was like, oh, damn, that happens quick.
we gotta get you plugged in with Waiter Dink Vader. He's like the local DGC pizza guy.
Yeah,
it's been fun actually. You know, it's been a blast. I've used it a few different times. You know, I just got the hardest part that I've been dealing with is getting it off of the little slider into the thing. You know, that dough likes to stick. You know, and there's a lesson I learned. You know, flour is flammable.
Cornmeal. So
and I know that too.
Yeah, flour will ignite. I think it's 750.
Really?
It will go. It will ignite. You know. So let me tell you, if you do have a pizza oven, use it outside because that flour gets hot and it will catch fire.
Yeah,
it's combustible.
We tried to put out a fire in our oven with flour, and I'm like, oh, I did not know this was going to happen. I'm like, oops.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, that's that magic fire dust.
Well, yeah, the magic burn your third floor apartment down.
It has been fun though.
Soda.
Yeah, baking soda, the Arm & Hammer. You know?
Baking soda, not baking powder, kids. Baking soda.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so now I got a little pizza slider that's like, basically you slide it on there and it kind of like has a motion where it's kind of like a wheel, you know what I mean? So you put it on there and then it just wheels itself off. So I'm like, hey,
kind of like
that sounds real handy.
Scoopers?
Huh?
kind of like those ice cream scoopers where you click the little lever.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever tried? I forget what the kind of like granular one is, but it's like corn flour, cornmeal, something like that. The kind of like crunchy one. Have you ever tried a little bit of that on the bottom of it?
I let my wife do the preparing. I just tell her bring them out, or my kids bring them out, and I just throw them in there. So I'm hoping they're ready. But when I go to throw it on, it sticks. It's like, all right, wait a minute, we need some flour here, guys.
Yeah, the cornmeal helps.
I'll have to try that. Definitely have to throw that in the arsenal.
That's the meal. That is the meal. The little granular one.
Yeah, the little granules.
That's when I get confused. Stoner brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Heck yeah. Yeah. No, it's been fun. Like I said, I enjoy growing. It's always been a blast, and every grow is always different. And that's what makes it more enjoyable because, again, you're always testing the limits. You're always checking what's going on or what's not going on. And it's like when you see those memes of the people, checking their tin all crazy. That's got to be all of us. I ain't going to lie.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
Damn right.
So Chubbs, one story I gotta get out of you, brother, while we got you on the camera. Can we get you to brag on yourself a little bit? Did you guys know that we have a Guinness Book World Record holder in the building here?
I already know. Grow Diary's done plastered at 5 million ads across it. I even made a meme about it.
I was shocked, when I did it, and again, to break the 30% THC mark with an auto flower is definitely mind-blowing. I know it can be done, and I didn't expect it. It was one of those, it was actually out last year at BizCon, first time I ever attended, and just happened to be, one of those people that would test the stuff and everything. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I got no problem. It's always fascinating to find out kind of what your stuff comes back at, and when
what strain was it?
It was a banana purple punch, from Fast Buds Auto Flower, and it's definitely a fan favorite for me. I've grown it multiple times. It's probably in my grow every other time, and it's actually what I won the American Auto Flower Cup this year, second place for best indica. So, it's definitely a cup winning strain.
That's amazing.
You've run it enough to where you've really got it dialed in.
And everybody asks, well, how do you make a cup winning or how do you grow a cup winning strain and all that stuff, and I tell them when I first started, I want to say for the first 2 years, the hardest fight I did was myself because I wanted to throw everything but the kitchen sink at it, and I think learning that, is a hard lesson or a hard pill to swallow for some because, it's, I don't know if it's pride or, hey, no, I can do this better, type stuff. And it's like, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. So I keep it really simple, especially with auto flowers, not being light dependent and they're time dependent. You kind of, you got to have your stuff dialed in, but it's not necessarily that. It's more or less find out what works best for you. And that's where it comes back to that strain, I didn't do anything better to that banana purple punch than I did to any of the other 5 strains I had growing alongside it. So it's keeping it simple, keeping your grows dialed in, to where if something does go haywire, I find it a lot easier to fix an issue or fix a problem before it comes an issue, type thing. Especially like I was just saying, you check your tent 4 or 5 times a day, you're going to hopefully catch something before it spreads, or you can kind of be like, all right, well, if you have everything in the book added already, it's like, where do I even start to figure out what's going wrong? As opposed to you kind of keep it real simple. It's like, okay, I can eliminate or I can add to see what happens. And if it doesn't fix it, then all right, now we got a real big issue on our problem.
Yeah.
Plus the way that I feel about it, it's like the more moving parts that you have, the more points of failure that you have.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, you find I grow in soil. I grow in 3-gallon fabric pots. I use Roots Organic 707 soil. Okay. I don't do anything fancy. I'm on well water. Currently I've been running the Athena blended line nutrients and absolutely loving it. They're killing it with what they do. As they say, trust the program.
You liking the fade?
You
liking the fade from Athena?
I didn't use the fade as much just because towards the end of my grow, I'm already dialing down my ppm anyways. So if I was running rock wool or something as a different medium than soil, I definitely would run it a lot more just to kind of balance that end result out. But no, their bloom, their grow nutrients, the CalMag is on point, because even if I saw a little bit of CalMag, boom, add a little rust spot on the leaf. I mean, add a little CalMag to that mix, and it just works, I mean, I almost add CalMag to every watering. I mean, I've never had an issue. I do about a teaspoon. Yeah, a teaspoon's a smaller one, I believe, per gallon, so
Okay.
Nothing fancy, I mean, and that's where I think it helps me a lot because, again, like you said, throwing more wheels into it, you're just asking for more trouble, and I'm not saying that's the wrong way of growing. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's your style. It's,
Yeah, you do what's comfortable.
Yeah.
I do enjoy watching the hydro grows, or the guys that grow on the flood trays, just because it's totally badass how they do it. I do admire it. Where I live at 4,000 feet, so we get pretty wild temperature swings. I mean, it could be in the wintertime, I mean, down to 0, and then in the daytime up to 75, and then in the summertime, it can get up to 110. And so as far as running flood trays and going cocoa and all that stuff, it's just not in for me. I'm not going to run a chiller or anything like that. And I do find it really cool.
It's not worth it to me.
No.
Yeah, extraness for me too.
That's why I just let the guys that are doing it kill it, and I just take advantage and just watch their grows because it's like, man, that's amazing how you guys can do that.
Yeah.
Do you pH your grows, Chubbs?
I do. I pH my water every time before I water, and I stopped for a little while, thinking you get cocky. You're like, nah, I know what I'm doing, and then the minute I shouldn't say the minute my plant started showing signs, I'm like, all right, hang on. Let me pH this water. And I was about a half a point off, and when you're a half a point at 6.6, you're already at 7, you're like, all right, I got to dial this down. I keep it in between 6.3 and 6.5. So wasn't too out of whack, and that's another thing, I tell people, I let the plants do a lot of the talking. They will definitely tell you if something's wrong.
I got to get some of this recharge over to you, Chubbs. Would you want to try it?
I'm not against trying anything. So definitely, I mean,
all right. You'd be surprised with it. Well, with well water, you might still have to pH. Like me, I'm on Chicago City water. My tap comes out at 7.0. So that's part of how I'm able to get away with it. But I haven't pH'd in like 3 years, dude. I moved back last November. I made a decision, right? Check this out. I literally threw out my pH pen. I threw out my pH up. I threw out my pH down. So at this point, it's just my super soil, living soil mixture, and the weekly mycorrhizae microbe feedings. And I don't measure it. I don't adjust it. I just grow.
Heck yeah.
But if you're interested, we can definitely get some recharge out to you.
I'll give it a go. I do enjoy trying new products. I actually just tested a couple of different newt lines, and it's always interesting. It's kind of like the testers, it's when you do a blind test, it makes it fun because you got to use what skills you have and go off of that. It's almost like take one of your 7 senses away and see how you do, I mean, it's fun to me, I mean, life's a challenge yourself.
That's the thing with recharge, though. You can add it on to any nutrient line that you're already using because it's not really feeding the plant. It's feeding your soil. And since you're not doing hydro, since you're not doing cocoa or any of that, well, it still works in cocoa. But as far as like just in soil, Ant can tell you. It's
hey, I love the grow dots. Like I'll even layer it.
No, the recharge.
Oh, the recharge. I use both, so it doesn't matter. I use the recharge even with my food because sometimes I use food. Bottles, the bottle newts, just like Athena. They're bottle newts.
Yeah.
They say they're organic. It smells like mints. I love the way it smells. But I like mixing bottles. I mean, that's what I do for a living. I'm a spray tech. I spray lawns with chemicals and bushes, insecticides, IPM, and all that's like what I do every day. Like, so, you know what I mean? It just goes hand in hand with it. So, I mean, but it's also awesome to have it simplified because grow dots, I was like, ain't no way. I mix it in the soil layer by layer,
Okay, so it's like a dry amendment. You just kind of put it on the top and let it do its thing or whatnot?
No, it's like a bead, beads, like fertilizer beads.
Okay.
Well, that's the grow dots, but I'm talking about the recharge. So it's a once a week mycorrhiza feeding. You just mix it with your water.
The micro.
For me, for a little bit added benefit, I'll actually mix like a little plantation blackstrap molasses in there just to kind of give the microbes like a simple sugar to feed off of.
Oh, 100%, 100%. You know, a good book. You know, one of the first guys that I ever seen when I first started growing. I always try to learn stuff, you know, but one of the first guys that I ever seen, I believe his name is Jeff Lowenfield, I believe is his name. I could be accidentally brutaling his last name, but he wrote a book called Teaming with Microbes. And it's absolutely mind-blowing, you know, when you start realizing actually how much you have to feed that soil. So when I found, you know, for instance, Roots Organic 707, you know, it's got the perfect ratio of everything that I found that I needed to get me through to almost about week 5 before I got to start adding anything besides CalMag to them, you know, so it definitely helps.
Yeah.
Most definitely. You'd be surprised though, like how much looser you can be with your pH though, because anything with microbes, mycorrhizae like that, that's attaching to the end of the roots and kind of like inoculating itself.
Yeah.
It's making for more of a self-regulated rhizosphere. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see Babylon burning selections down there. I do have a coupon if you guys want to check out any of his auto flowers, 10% off. He's got some pretty good deals over there too if you use coupon code Cortez.
Shout out, what's up, Buds? He's a breeder out of California. So
no, he's out of Chicago.
No, I'm talking about shout out, what's up, Buds? He's another breeder in the chat. Yeah, out of Cali. Yeah,
we got the breeders confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having some nice weather out here in Cali right now. I'm out in Southern California.
SoCal boy.
Nice.
SoCal representing.
Hell yeah.
I've been out there before. I went to Moreno Valley.
That's about an hour from me.
Okay, so I'm familiar then.
I live in a small town, basically. The closest town to me is about 45 minutes away. So, I mean.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even have any signal lights, put it that way.
We got NorCal in the house. What is that? You in the Emerald Triangle up there, buddy?
That's that Emerald Triangle, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, after doing like outdoors and indoors, what do you prefer to do? Especially being in California.
Indoor all day long.
Yeah.
I find indoor growing just to be like, I don't know, once you find out what works for you, and that's the hard part about growing, you know, there's so many different hard parts, but I should say the hardest part about oneself is because like we're our own worst critic. So to sit there and figure out, you know, what works best for you in the environment or whatever you have, that's the fun, enjoyable part. So that's where I find indoor growing so much more enjoyable for me, just because it's always like just lately I've been really trying to dial in my VPD. You know, I've always had my humidity on lock. I've always had PAR on lock, you know, but I've never wanted to stay stagnant, you know. So the minute you start staying stagnant, I feel you get complacent. So therefore, you know, I was like, there's always something you can learn. No one ever knows everything. And that's why you hear that master grower. It makes me laugh because no one's a master. Nobody, you know, let me tell you. There's always something you're going to learn or find a technique or something that you didn't know. And you could be in the business 40 years and be like, holy crap, it's that simple. And that's what makes you a better grower is acceptance of being like, all right, let me try that. That might work, you know, or, hey, you know what? I'm glad it works for you because that's no way in hell it's going to work for me.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But that, you know, to your question, I being able to manipulate, you know, all the different environments, you know, especially in wintertime, you can do one of the funnest techniques I like to do. I like cold temperature manipulation, turning, you know, those plants, the strains that are normally heavily green, you know, you can turn them super red or dark purples, you know, you drop those temperatures and it's just really enjoyable, you know. So outdoor is always fun because the challenge you can't anticipate for. So it's always like, all right, I can kind of like get my ducks in a row and hope they make it to the end. But man, Mother Nature always likes throwing a wrench in your engine for some reason. At least mine, you know, I'll be 3/4 of the way through growing. It'll have like a weird summer storm where we'll get snow coming through. And you're like, really, guys, it's the middle of August.
Yeah. Hey, I work for Mother Nature, so I'm at her beck and call.
And the fun part about living, like I live up on a mountain, you know, I can see the storms coming off from a ways away, you know, so you're already like, oh, this is going to suck. That's going to be heavy.
It's common.
Yeah.
Thing I like with outdoor is like they just get so much bigger. But I like indoor because you have the control over everything. You know, you don't have to worry as much about pests and, you know, powdery mildew and stuff like that, and being broken by a storm or knocked over.
Oh yeah. That's why I said, you know, I just had to tie mine up outdoor because the main colas. And again, I told myself I was going to scrog them this year. And then about 5 weeks ago, I go, nah, you know what? They're so different in sizes because I have the 6 different strains in there. I'm like, I'll just let them go and deal with it later. But I think in the last week, I've picked 2 up that have totally fell over. You know, luckily enough, the main stalks didn't break. And I caught, again, I check my outdoor just as much as I check the indoor just to see if they're doing okay, you know, and tell them hi multiple times a day.
Yeah.
So
I'm
like, oh, snap, you know, but thank God, you know, you catch it next year, you know, and that's what's fun about it, you know, every year. And I hope everybody does it every grow, you know, you always find something that hopefully can improve it, you know, to just try to get better every time.
Try to get a little bit more dialed in every time.
And I mean, I'm talking, even if it's just getting my humidity within a 5% than what I had it at. I'm not even talking perfect, you know, because it takes years to dial it in. And sometimes, well, you know, depending on how deep your pockets, you may not want to run air conditioning. So, you know, some have to limit where they grow in the summertime.
Yeah.
I do not. I don't have deep pockets, but at the same time, I've learned to combat the heat. You know, I've had my tent just this past summer, 110 degrees, you know.
Ooh, wow.
Had plenty of airflow. No, I'm not going to say those strains came out any cup worthy winning, but you know, you break it up, it all tastes the same, it all grows and all smokes the same. But at the end of the day, you know, that's that fun part about how much do you want to dial in your grow, you know, and it's enjoyable. It really is, you know, because you can see something from start to finish and just see it flourish. And it's kind of like watching your kid grow up. You know, you sit there and watch them graduate and then you send them off to college. It's like I tell my kids, if I can make you better than me, I did my job as a parent.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a question.
Personally, I don't let my stuff go over 85, but I got a dedicated AC just for the plants.
Okay.
I should incorporate. I also do run CO2, so that helps.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got the whole CO2 setup, but I don't want to waste it on these auto flowers right now. So I have everything minus the tank that I can get for $75. I got the Halo system. I got the controller. I got the regulator.
See, I find running it with the auto flowers to be, well, just because I run it indoor, it gives you that kind of peace of mind, a breathing room in case something just isn't exactly right. It'll pick up the slack for me, you know, and for, I think, well, I don't know what you pay for a tank, you know, I think it's like $27 or somewhere in my area to refill it. So it's like, you know, and you figure depending on, again, I'll run my exhaust. I don't run a sealed room. So, I mean, it'll pump out just as quick as I pump it in sometimes. But on those hot days, you know, I believe it helps because you don't see that stress, the leaf curl as much because, you know, you're giving them that extra added boost, you know?
Yeah.
So that was actually one of the investments I made lately. I kind of went automated on everything. So I can not only monitor my grow and my environments anywhere that I have like Wi-Fi or a cell phone signal, I can also adjust remotely as well.
That's awesome.
And I got all the parameters set up so it like doomsday alarms start going off on my phone if like it goes 86 degrees.
See, I'm like the exact opposite. I have everything on mine, individual circuits, you know. I mean, I just where I live, you know, we'll have power outages quite a bit just from different storms, whatever factors come into play. But I've learned, you know, the mechanical timers have worked best for me. I do HVAC and appliance repair, you know, so
nice.
Real familiar with mechanical timers and everything like that. So it's like, you know, you set them up and let them go. At most, if the power turns off, you just got to kind of go reset it to whatever time it is now that it is and how long it's been off. But other than that, even like my exhaust, you know, I have 2 AC Infinity things, one for the exhaust, one for the intake, just in case. I don't know, I get weird just in case one thing goes out, you know, and in your whole system. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just, to me, gives me a little better peace of mind knowing I got different things on different circuits just in case. Because I have had, you know, fans go out and you're like, oh, or a circuit go out because it tripped a breaker mid part of the day or something, you know. And it's just one of those things that kind of I try to prepare for the worst and anticipate the best.
That was actually one of the difficult things on setting up my current grow was figuring out which outlets went to what so I could have my lights on a different circuit than my air conditioning.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of trial and error there.
Yeah, I just wired up my whole garage, just this past year before I was running an extension cord from my house, not the safest way, but it's like, hey, you know what, you do what you got to do. But I figured I'm like, you know what, I'm going to run everything legit to where it's like individual circuits for my fan, individual circuits for my, my lights, for basically one line for everything that parameter wise as far as in there. So that way, just in case one thing goes, it doesn't blow the whole thing.
Right.
Wow. Did you have to?
That's really.
Did you have to like add those circuits? Like, did you have to do it yourself, or were they available?
No. Well, luckily enough, I had to add everything. Luckily enough, the property I bought, when I lived in the city, where I grew was in my garage, and it was attached to the house. And I told myself, if I ever buy a house or put a position to where I'm able to, I'd like to have a detached area. Well, luckily enough, there was already kind of like power behind the garage, that ran to kind of like a breaker.
Right.
So I just basically ran new wire and ran a sub panel and stuff like that so it could handle the load, because I was definitely upping the load that I was going to be handling. So no, I basically wired everything in. I made outlets on both sides, so that way where my lights needed to plug in, there was going to be an outlet. And it was a little bit of thinking and drawing out, and afterwards you're like, maybe I shouldn't have put that there. It should have went 3 feet over, I guess. But all in all, it definitely helped, because it gives you that peace of mind. It's away from the house. If anybody or anything happens, it's my fault because I left a door open or anything. So
yeah.
But it helps knowing how to do the electricity. It did save me a bunch. So knowing how to wire in a sub panel and, wire an extra circuit from your main breaker definitely helps. I wouldn't advise, if you do not know how to do it, don't do it.
Don't do it. I wouldn't do it myself.
No, I'm not messing with electricity. Got shocked before. I ain't doing it again. No, I'm good.
No, all you got to do is just get in there with a screwdriver. Maybe got to add like a little 220 or something.
That's what I tell anybody, anytime you're doing electrical work, you always make sure you lick your fingers before you check it, because that way you get a good ground.
There you go.
I learned a long time ago, I'm a far better mechanic than electrician. So when wires kind of scare me, I just don't touch them.
Yeah. I used to be that way. I mean, it's just like anything nowadays, as long as you take safety precautions, I mean, it can be as safe as you make it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, that actually is what I do for like my job though. I'm a maintenance mechanic.
Okay.
Making it all OSHA compliant.
Yeah.
Maybe if those pricks are looking. That's why wait, I see the safety guy. It's like, okay, let this asshole spin the block real quick. Okay, now here, back to what we were doing. Come on, let's get this done. I thought I told you bring the fucking zip ties. Come on.
Do y'all get a lot of rolling blackouts out there where you at?
Well, yeah, a lot of rolling blackouts. Not only that, they're anywhere, or if anybody's in California, there's wildfires everywhere. So it sucks, because as soon as there's a wildfire, they shut the grid off where you're at, and it's like, all right, that's lovely, and thank God, again, that's another reason why I grow autos, just because they're not as finicky to kind of mess up on you. If I've had my power out for days, to where luckily enough, I have an RV to where I'll just fire up the generator and I'll be like, all right, kids, we're going camping in the driveway. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, definitely the answer to your question is a big yes. I'd say probably on average a year, I probably have 10 blackouts.
You got a generator or anything to back up your grow?
No. Say a prayer and hope they make
diesel.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Throw on that little Carrie Underwood, Jesus take the wheel,
Okay.
Had to get one of them old pull start diesels there, Chubbs. Probably find one off Craigslist
or
something.
I looked into getting one of those whole house generators, the Generac whatnot, and I had the guy come out, because your exact thought, I was like, if it's going to cost me a few $1,000s, where I'm at on my property, I have a lot of trees, so I couldn't do solar. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll go kind of, whole house generator, and these things have to fire up every month, and that's okay, because I have a 5 kilowatt generator in my RV that I have, and that thing burns a gallon of gasoline an hour. So it's like, okay, all right, at 18 gallons an hour. I don't know if you guys have ever come to California. You know, we got some of the cheapest gas prices in the country. So
got all them Democrats out there. Yeah.
So, you know, you do the math on that at $5 a gallon times 18 hours just to keep my grow going, you know, and that's at regular gasoline. I think propane right now is at $3.90 a gallon right now because my house is almost totally off grid. If I were to go solar, I would be completely off grid, you know. So even with propane, you know, I mean, I think these things they run at what it would take me to power my whole house. You know, I think it costs around $750 and it'd last about 3 days. So it's like, you know, at that price, again, I'll just bring my plants outside no matter what season of the year it is and just hope everything for the best, you know?
Yeah. Well, you do. I know now that Fast Buds, they started doing like photo periods. They have that available now.
Yeah, they do have the new five photo periods out. I think it's the rainbow melon, See, I'm bad with strains.
If I go in my email, I can tell you guys because I actually have all.
Yeah, I'm bad. Right now. I know it's like a rainbow melon. Yeah,
I'm gonna be like the guy. I'm gonna be like the guy on Joe Rogan right now. Hold on, guys.
I have grown every strain except for those 5 because I did my photo period run outdoor this year after the fact, you know, and I'm like, you know, do you have room? And it's like, I already got an indoor and an outdoor going. It's like, you know what? I'll wait and hopefully that anticipation is up for the wait. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they'll be there. That's a nice thing.
I got it. It's the lemon papaya.
Yeah.
Lemon mandarin. Yeah. Rainbow melon, gorilla melon, and papaya sherbet. The one I really got my eye on, I know it's one of the gorilla. It might be the gorilla melon, but don't quote me. But I was reading through the little strain description, and it actually said that one of the parents was one of the breeders' cuts from Exotic Genetics, and it was the rainbow belt. So wait, I want to say it's the rainbow melon, maybe, but whichever one has
one of the melons.
Exotic genetic, whatever that one is, it's gonna be the one that I'm watching.
You know, I always have it. You know, it's like anything with seeds. When in doubt, buy them both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna grow anything other than Fast Buds? Like looking at all these crazy cultivars out here, you know, I can't just stick to just one, you know.
I get that question. I get that question asked a lot, you know, and I am a firm believer not only in loyalty, but if I didn't grow medically and get out of it what I got out of it, you know, for the strains that they produce, doing what they do for my son.
Yeah.
I probably would, you know, and I'm not against any other breeder. I tell everybody, you know what? At the end of the day, there are some badass breeders out there, and it's just like dinner. You know, what you have for dinner and what I have for dinner may be totally different, but at the end of the day, we're both full, right? So it comes down to, you know, I mean, I love it. I've grown every strain they come out with. People ask that question. Well, what's your favorite then? Well, whatever I harvested and dried. Some, you know, I mean, come on.
What
I'm smoking right now.
Yeah, smoking on that. This is some LSD 25 right here. You know, it was one of the first strains I grew. You know, when I first started growing their strains, and it's one of those. I love the colors that it comes out with. It's some of the deepest purple coloring bud that I've ever grown. You know, and I've gotten 2 different phenos from it. Either you'll get that super strong sour diesel or you'll get that lemony terpene profile, you know, both are good. Right. I'm not the biggest fan of the lemony profile. I like that more, you know, punch you in the face, you know, you smoked it because it feels like you just got kicked by a mule type thing.
With gas.
Yeah, you know, but no, I'm not against growing anybody else's stuff. You know what I mean? But at the moment right now, I've been exclusively Fast Buds for years. I actually have quite the extensive seed collection, you know, and I have a bunch of different breeders in there, you know.
I've been hearing a lot in the chat. Crimson Grows. You got Cece, I think, said you sent her some. You've just been hooking the community up with beans, man. That is awesome. I love that because I like to do that too. Just send people some packs that we've had on the show. Just hey, it's out of my own supply, whatever, take them, you know? So
100%, brother. Awesome. Like I said, if I can get somebody to sit there and try it, you know what I mean? And I'm not even sitting there saying, hey, just grow Fast Buds in general and that's it, you know? But I can honestly say growing every strain I'll back every one of them, you know, I mean,
Oh yeah.
and they're like we were talking earlier, they're an amazing company, you know. A lot of people got to understand the different time zones, you know. They expect an answer right away, and sometimes when they don't get it, it kind of gets people frustrated, which
They're
totally
9
understand,
hours
you know?
ahead of me.
Yeah.
In Spain. So
Yeah.
from Chicago to
So,
Spain, it's a 9-hour difference.
but no, like
Right.
when I went to I was fortunate enough, you know, to go to 10 Spanibus this year out there in Spain, and gone to a few different events, and you know, you meet all these different new breeders, and you know, you got Mephisto out there, you got, like you said, exotic genetics, you know, you got Sulfa. I mean, the list goes on. Humboldt, you know what I mean? And you can throw a stone and hit 5 different amazing cup winning breeders out there, you know. So I don't tell anyone to stick. That's where it comes back to find out what works best for you, you know what I mean? And for my situation, it works best for me. My son's happy and healthy. I smoke fire, you know, I mean, I can't be any happier than that. And that's where at some point, you know, you almost feel greedy.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Let it spin.
Amen, brother.
Fast Buds
Appreciate
definitely is one of the most consistent autoflowers on the market.
Yeah, they have a
100%.
good reputation. How did you get involved with them in the first place?
You know, I posted, I think it was a blackberry plant that I had posted, you know, on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
I used to do social media a little more. I got out of it for a long time, you know, just because I was tired of all the same old crap, you know, you see. But I had posted on it, and just happened to be, you know, it was a great looking plant, you know, and I started doing a grow diaries, and little by little, you know, you build that rapport, and they reached out to me and said, would I be interested in testing and stuff like that? And I thought it was actually pretty funny because, again, I'm my own worst critic. I'll sit there and tell you some of this looks like shit, you know what I mean? Just for instance, you know, I may have done a different test, and the way it came out wasn't what I thought. And that's where it comes back to, you know, it just kind of different strokes for different folks. And, you know, you just keep consistent. That's the main thing. Like I've learned a lot in life, you know, you keep consistent and you find that passion, and people see that, you know. But if you're going to sit there and try to be fake, or you're going to sit there and try to put on a different persona, you know what I mean? It's not going to work. I'm sorry. This community will see right through it. I mean, it's like we tell our kids, you think I was born at night? I might have been, but it wasn't last night. You know what I mean?
I like that.
So, you know what I mean? It was, and I thank God every day that I did, you know, they reached out to me and asked and everything like that. And I've just stuck with them. You know what I mean? It's a loyalty thing. Now I enjoy everything they come out. It's more family for me because I've dealt with them. I've had lunch, dinner with them. You know what I mean? So they're all amazing people. That whole team over there, just like I said, it's like, what is it? The Globetrotters, you know, it's like the best of the best in my opinion.
Yeah. That's cool.
But no, I mean, and that's what I tell people, because I get that message a lot, you know, because a lot of people in the community know I'm pretty serious when it comes to Fast Buds. I've grown their strains for a lot of years, and I tell them, you know, if you'd like to become a tester, I'm not going to tell you to do anything different than I didn't do in the same steps that I took. You know, sit there, and you can always send an email, because it's like, you know, I'd rather get a no than wonder, and it could have been a yes. So never be hesitant to ask. But at the same time, if it takes you $30 or whatnot to buy a couple, you know, seeds and germinate them to really find out, and you're not willing to do that and do a grow diaries and stuff like that and post consistently and have passion with it, really, like I said, you know, we'll see through it. You know what I mean? So,
hey, look, that's what I came to before IG. Like I've gone IG, social media, just, you know, bullshitting around, but I got off all that. I can't do that social media no more. So I got off all that. And then I found grow diaries because I like to grow. I want to show pictures, and I loved it. I was all in, man.
Yeah.
So I've been on there for a couple years, and that's kind of, I was the same way. That's how Fast Buds found me. And I reached out to them. They saw some diaries. It was like, yeah, make some diaries.
Not only that, I mean, if you get on there, you know, those competitions they have every month, you know, they're fun to get.
Fun. Yeah.
Oh, man.
The pets competition.
Yeah.
You can put
the meme competitions and everything.
Competition. You can win.
Really though, if I were to give advice to somebody to kind of talk about what you guys were just saying, if somebody out there in the community really does
coming up on a whole hour, just want to let you know. So
all right. So if somebody out there really does want to become a Fast Buds tester, the best advice I could give, just operate like you're already a tester. when you grow out the fast bud seeds, make sure that you're doing like the hashtags, put the Fast Buds official account on there and everything. And like, you may not even need to reach out to them because like Heather does check, like she does all their social media stuff. So if you post enough times and they like what they see, you're taking good pictures, they could very well extend the offer to you.
It's kind of like that thing, you know, when you go to help somebody, you don't go to help them because you know that, or you hope you get a thank you. You're helping them because that's how you were raised, to be a nice person. You know, you do it because you want to do it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's kind of one of them things too, to where it's like you can give a man a fish and he can eat for the day, or you could teach a man to fish and he can feed himself for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's why, you know, anybody and everybody in the chat, if they ever have any questions about any of the strains, never hesitate to DM me or ask me, because it's like I said on the podcast I was on the other day, you'll never hear me tell you I'm a pro, because I am as far from a pro as they could, you know, but I have ran across my fair share of problems.
Work in progress.
And a lot of those problems can be easily fixed. So, you know, or if you have a question, you know, how much do you want, anything, you know, never ask, the question that's dumbest is the one that's not asked. So straight up, you know what I mean? Never hesitate, because again, I try to get to them as fast as I can. I really do. And I don't hold anything back. And that's like how you were saying, Cortez, you know, I keep it up front on my Instagram now. And that's the whole reason I made another one, just so that way I can just focus on my plants, focus on what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And
it kind of becomes like your grow diary too, like your grow journal. So like for me, if I want to check, like, wait a second, how long ago did I put this into flower? Wait, how long ago did I germinate these seeds or something?
So that's what I mean. That's how, you know, I think that's probably part of one of the reasons why I was recognized. You know what I mean? I just kept it straightforward. I ain't bullshitting anybody. If they don't, you know, if people don't like what I show, because again, I'll tell you right now, not all my grows go 100%. And there won't be a grower out there unless they're even facilities. They'll tell you it never goes 100%. There's always something that's going to throw an engine in your wrench. And
of course.
That to me might right there, you know,
spider might be some fucking fungus gnats that got a little too far ahead because your air conditioner started dripping inside your. That's when I had to deal with this. I killed every one of those bastards.
But
no, it's always something, or maybe you like turned your light down so you could take pictures, but then you were high and you forgot to turn your light back up, and it's like 2 weeks later, and it's like, wait, why aren't my nugs like getting bigger? The shit we still do.
You weren't loving them enough. You weren't giving them enough love.
That's and when I'm talking about that guy, I'm talking about this guy. Like, players fuck up too, okay?
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. But no, I mean, like I said, anybody and everybody, never hesitate to reach out. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to, even though I've, you know, pretty much grown 99% fast buds. When I first started growing, some of the best results I've ever had were that bag seed. You know, you throw it out and you wonder what it was. And it's even like now, you know, if I get a seed in some of my plants every once off, you know, it kind of gives you that great reminder of appreciation of what you used to smoke, you know, and it makes you laugh. Like, man, I remember breaking up a nug and 15 seeds dropping out the bottom.
Yeah.
Do you ever plant the seeds that you find? Do you ever?
Oh, I do 100%. Well,
really?
no,
I get
did
mad
when I first started.
I crush
100%.
them in my fingers.
Yeah. And that's why I would just label them bag seed, you know, because, you know, half the time I didn't know what it was and it just fall out of something I was rolling, you know, and you're like, oh man. Or if you missed it and you smelt it when you were midway through a blunt or something, you're like, oh man, that could have been a good one.
You could have been. And you get that nice pop, like,
yeah, there's early 4th of July show going there.
We're taking fire. We're taking fire.
Hippie grenade.
Hit the deck.
So, Chubbs, do you want to give yourself a little plug, you know, where you can find you, if people can reach you? You already said, you know, if you got questions, they can reach you. Where can they reach you at?
You know, I'm on Instagram at Chubbs. I do have a Grow Diaries profile. I believe it's just Chubbs.
I got to follow that profile, by the way. Sorry.
I've been really complacent. I haven't done a diary in a while. You know, again, when it comes to family and everything like that and the house and all that, you know, I don't like to make excuses, but shit goes on, you know what I mean? And it's like, all right, you know, but I'm definitely going to get back on there. Like I said, those contests are fun because I don't do it for the seeds or anything like that. I enjoy the trophies on my profile.
I gotcha. So,
But yeah, that's the only two places, you know, unless, I mean, I'm around, you know, find me at the American Autoflower Cup this year. Hopefully everybody joins, you know, let's make it happen.
yeah, that'd be so dope. Where are they gonna have it? Are they gonna have it like the same place as last year?
No, last year it was at a different venue than the first year, but it's 99% generally in LA area, you know, like that, or somewhere around that area. So generally in February. So mark the calendar. No specific date yet, but definitely know I'll be bringing some fire. I'm hopefully going for the 3-peat this year.
Location to be announced the day of.
Yeah, to be announced.
Like a pop-up or something.
Yeah. Those are the best.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the only places that you can find me, you know, nowhere special.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for having,
Thank
you know, coming
Oh, no,
on.
thank you guys. And like I said, it's a true honor having me as a first. It's a pleasure. Like I said, I mean, it really is a pleasure. It's an honor because at the end of the day, like I told you guys, first it's for my son, you know, and all this stuff is just icing on the cake. So, I mean, it's definitely, it's very humbling.
Awesome.
We definitely appreciate you being humble enough to come on, Chubbs.
Anytime. And like I said, if you do that med episode or whatnot, you know, we'll have to make something happen.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, it's gonna be like ultra produced. Like I'm almost making a documentary. Like I'm gonna be. I've kind of seen. I got new video editing software recently, and I did that Spaceman episode, and it kind of gave me like the confidence, I guess, to where like I think I can make like a full-on documentary.
I'll tell you what, that episode made me a better photographer.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's probably,
too.
you know, when it
Me
comes
too,
down to
but-
growing in content, it's probably my worst attribute, you know, is that taking photos is hard.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
Yeah.
guys.
Yep.
Oh
yeah.
my God. I
With
am
the
by far
lighting
the
and
worst
trying to catch
photographer
everything.
ever. So if you see my pictures on Instagram, please be nice and at least add, you know, maybe cover one eye when you look at it. Hopefully a bad eye, because I know those pictures could be a lot better.
I usually check out your videos though, and
The
you got this
pictures?
like fucking circus tent. It's like 30 by
that is
30.
right.
How big is it?
Yeah, you know, I was
This-
blessed. AC Infinity was gracious enough. You know, it's that AC Infinity 10 by 10, you know.
A
And
2-bedroom apartment.
it is,
It
you know,
looks
and
like a Chubbs.
From AC Infinity.
it is, you know, when I want to work on my tan, I pull out my beach chair and just kind of relax in there, read a good book.
Hell yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. But no, definitely.
It's about a 10 lighter.
I used to run 2 tents. I had a 4x4 and a 4x8, and then I upgraded to that. And it was like, all right, I wasn't kind of planning on upgrading, but again, you know, life throws stuff in your way mysteriously. So I was like, all right, I guess I got to get some more lighting and I got to add more plants. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's do this. Let's have some fun.
That thing is nice. I really wish I had the space in the plant count. I really wish I had the space in the plant count, brother.
You're going to
And
be
the
careful you said that
electricity
because,
to
man,
back
it's
it
a gift and a curse.
Yeah. 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 Amen.
It is, you know. I enjoy, like I said, how you said you went fully automated with the watering and stuff, you know. I still hand water. I got, you know, in my indoor, I'm running 63-gallon plants. You know, I hand water every one of them, you know.
Yeah.
I enjoy the process. You know, it gets me in there lifting
There's
the pots.
no better control. There's no
Yeah.
better control you'll have over your plants than hand watering.
Of course.
But it gets crazy. Like I said, you know, and
Oh, yeah.
it's one of those double-edged swords. The more space you have, you're like, all right, it's going to cost me the same amount of money per real estate. So it's like, why not fill it? And then, you know, once you kind of, I don't do a lot of training when it comes to my autos. You know, I just kind of let them grow. I defoliate multiple times through the grow. And right when they hit about week 2 or 3 of flower, I lollipop up to about the 4th or 5th node, you know. But other than that, I don't do anything really too special other than that. And I give them about 1.5 feet per, you know, square foot, give or take, per plant, you know. And I've kind of realized it's a catch-22. You know, you hope they get bigger than that, but if they don't, I'm still happy with the results I'm shooting for.
Right. Found that perfect medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So,
it.
I mean, and that's the fun part about running autos. You know, I've gone from Fast Buds, 55 days from seed to harvest, generally to about the longest is, I mean, you'll have some of those longer sativas, about 100, 110, and that's rarely, but most of them are anywhere from 60 to 90 days guaranteed, and you put that extra grow into a cycle a year, you can have 4 instead of 3. So that's what makes it a lot more enjoyable for me. And I don't do anything special. Not for one strain.
Autoflowers, they're the perfect thing to run perpetuals with, especially if you have that much space, because you can just be pretty much switching stuff in and out of there at will, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It like I said, it's all fun until it comes trim time, and then you're like, oh man, this is gonna get fun.
Yeah.
I bet you hand trim too, like you're supposed to, right?
I do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's like, man, and I generally hire the wife, and be like, here, we're going to have to go out to dinner a few nights because she already knows trim's coming, it's like, oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
But no, she's always happy to help. And, and it's, again, my OCD drives me nuts because I'm in there. I'll do a little, mostly wet trim, and then after they dry trim, a little bit after, just kind of fine manicure. It just depends on what it's going. If it's going to make meds out of it, I just kind of almost like you're going to kind of wash it, take everything off except for, the stuff that has trichomes on it, or if it's going to be something that'll be
trim.
Yeah.
The old farmer's trim.
Oh yeah. But, this is going to be my first harvest running this many. So, I may end up having to bite the bullet and end up going an electric trimmer. I do have the AC Infinity bowl trimmer, and it definitely helps. It takes off a lot of the work, but
yeah,
those electric ones, man, it's like, when you see it, when your car is sitting on the side of the road and you see someone driving by with air conditioning, you're like, man, that'd be nice right about now.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's right.
I mean, I love trimming. It's just part of the process, nature of the beast, but man, it's strenuous. And especially at that many, when you first, and you got 5 or 6, you're like, all right, hey, I can do this, call a couple buddies over, and when you have as many as I do, it's like, all right, your buddies are only going to come over for so long. And they're like, nah, dude, this is too crazy.
Yeah. No matter how big of a sack you give them, they're like, God, my hands hurt.
Up until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning trimming when you got to be up for work by like 5 o'clock the next day.
Yep.
Yeah, those are the best nights, aren't they?
100%, brother. 100%. I think the last time my last
those are the nights that build character.
For 2 weeks.
Those are the nights that build character.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh god.
Oh man, that's all the fun part, though. That's the fun part of growing.
Yep, understandable. Yep. So, Alicia, you got anything before we close out of here?
I want to say huge thank you to Mrs. Cortez the Conqueror for maintaining the chat and Dude, Where's My Bong? You guys are
Dude, Where's My
first
Bong?
time
Thank
moderating. And thank you so much.
Big shout out to my squad.
Huge shout out. And then also, I shout out Homegrown Community, my homies.
GTC.
It's Sunday Sesh.
Yes.
Yeah, much appreciated, brother. Alicia, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for all your hard work and everything you guys do for the community.
We really appreciate your time, Chubbs.
Yeah.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. It's always a pleasure. And like you said, we've been chatting for a while, so it's like sitting here with family.
Right. Definitely is.
Hell yeah. Cortez, you got anything before we close this out?
More grow dots and recharge, yeah. I don't know. Keep working, Cortez.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I will say this though. These dabs got me. Shout out Taking Tops on the live. Turpicana.
Yeah. What did he place in the Dude Grows Cup? What place was it? Third?
Second. He placed second, but his girlfriend kept one of the coins, so he would have tied for first if she would have. I think there's like a whole. No, he got second, but that's the homie. We got him on one of those wing clip videos. That his is actually my favorite one because he was like a total ham when the camera came on. He's like, okay.
Hell yeah.
What about you, Distank?
Good times.
Nothing. I'm just glad that we got through this first episode. We were running around like crazy people.
There's an Easter egg on Cortez's YouTube channel of us testing last night.
Oh, yeah. So it's been.
I'm gonna leave it up. I'm gonna leave it up.
It's fun.
So I mean,
chicken nugget over there.
Yeah, it's been fun, and you know, you guys have been awesome. It's just like family. We talk every day, and it's just we laugh. We just go on, and it's just like we're so far away and different all over the country, but yet it's just we're close as shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I love
Well,
this.
that's kind of what we
community.
just struggled with, though, was like the tech side of this. I'm trying to figure out how to like link the StreamYard to the YouTube channel to go live from the StreamYard.
Oh yeah,
Like, this shit was stressful, but we did.
That's why I say much respect for what you guys do, because I don't want to handle that stress.
We crossed the finish line and we were able to bring you guys this live today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Hopefully some people can take something from this. But we made it. We made the time deadline. We got the guest on. So
hey,
high five.
You again.
Back clap. So,
thank you all.
Thanks so much.
And thank you, chat. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Y'all have a good
everybody that's supported. Big shout out to
Canna
Connoisseur just gave us a reshare. He just made me a new logo too. Big shout out to what is that podcast?
Oh yeah, it's amazing artist.
Seed to Harvest.
Seed to Harvest podcast. Yeah.
Colorado Chris and all them.
And Rue. Shout out
Rue, big shout out.
The boys. Yeah.
I was just fucking with him in the DM this morning.
Oh yeah. So it's awesome. Well, y'all have a
big
great
shout out
evening.
to everybody. Big shout out the whole
chat.
Community.
Yeah, the whole community. Oh yeah.
None of this will be possible without any of you guys. Seriously.
Definitely. All right, y'all.
We have next week. Colorado Chris and his wife Mo are coming on live, so that'll be fun. Same time, same stuff.
Yep, there you go. There's a little Seed to Harvest podcast. There you go. We'll see y'all next week.
All
right, brother.
Thank you.
All right, Elisa, you guys have a great weekend. What's left of it, have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you for the community. Thank you for the chats.
All right,
hopefully you guys got your laundry done, clean the house a little bit, get ready for work tomorrow, guys.
Yeah. Time to punch that clock.
Yeah.